Okay. Just very, very happy with the victory over Alcorn State in the rivalry game this past weekend. Hard-fought game, tough, defensive-minded game by both teams. Great effort by our kids. When things weren't going well during the season, had a lot of adversity, a lot of heartbreak, but for our kids to stand together and continue to believe in the process says a lot for them. We're thankful for the fans, the alumni, and the supporters of the Jackson State football Tigers that stood behind this team throughout the season, cheered for them, continued to travel and back them up on the road. Thank you for your support. And so we're excited about the win. We're excited about finishing the season with 2 wins in a row, 2-game winning streak. And right now we have a young football team that developed and showed character and pride. So we're excited about the future and of these young men and the future of Jackson State University football.
Questions? Coach, you finished the season. You've won 3 out of your last 4 games. Was there a message? Was there kind of a moment during that stretch where you kind of figured out these kids, like they finally put everything together, kind of finally the light bulb kind of came on?
Well, actually, it was after the Southern Baton Rouge game. I thought we were a different team after that game. It wasn't the score, but it was the attitude of the team. I thought we became a team, even through the adversity of losing some really good players to injury. Even this past weekend, we had 3 starters out on defense and still played one of our best games of the season. Even with that, there was a different level of commitment. There was a different level of togetherness by our team. And they just kind of played off each other and believed in one another and accepted the fact that if we stuck together and nobody else believed in us, then we believed in ourselves.
I know there were a couple times this season where it seemed like the fan base was expecting more at certain times, and you had a frustration with that. To get a win like that against your biggest rival, do you view that as a message to say, hey, this is why you should believe in what we're doing going into next year?
Well, no question, no question. And early, the disappointing loss at Tennessee State that went down to the last second field goal, and then the loss at Grambling in a very competitive game. And so with the young team and making those mistakes, there was a time there where we were trying to find ourselves or rediscover ourselves after some close losses. And but toward the end of the season, we held on to the rope. We held on to what we believed in. And so, for the fans that stuck with us and continued to believe in us, this game, this Alcorn game, was for them. To show them that, 1, the kids hadn't quit, 2, that they still play with the same passion and fire. That is Jackson State University football. And that if they believe in what we're doing and believe in the kids, then that could be just a beginning of what it looks like in the future.
In terms of these next couple of weeks, what's just going to be the plan moving forward? I know recruiting's got to be a big part of what you guys are going to be doing next, but what other things do you have planned?
Well, the kids, they're home now for the holidays, for Thanksgiving. They'll come back. I think we have 2 more weeks of school, and then they'll finish up final exams. There won't be any mandatory practices or lifts or any of that. And the coaches will hopefully get out on the road recruiting here starting next week, and we have about 3 weeks before early signing day for junior college players. And then you go into the Christmas holidays, and then from that standpoint. So basically, that's about it. You wrap it up with all of your meetings, and you do all of the things that's necessary to wrap up this season, and then you're on to recruiting and on to next year.
How much does that early signing period, the new thing in December, kind of impact you guys or your process with recruiting kids now?
I think it's going to be interesting to see. This is the first year, especially for us. We won't have any mid-year signees as far as high school kids are concerned. and our approach may be more of, wait and see what happens, after, the bigger schools, depending on how many kids they sign early and how many kids are still waiting to sign in February. So with this being the first year, I'm just going to really just kind of evaluate that situation and kind of see how it works out.
Is it too early to say in terms of changes on the staff or anything like that? I know you guys made a change in play calling early in the year, but is it too early to tell if you guys are making changes?
Well, right now, we're just at the end of the year making our evaluation, so there's nothing that, I can say about that right now.
I know you guys probably want more of a chance to look at this entire year and evaluate, but developmentally speaking, where do you feel like you got demonstrably better from year one to year two, even though finishing with the same record?
But even though finishing with the same record, I feel like that we improved greatly in a lot of areas. Of course, defensively, we became, toward the end of the year, one of the more dominant defenses in the country, or in the conference, I should say, maybe not the country. We still struggled on offense. I think a lot of it, is confidence, and we turned the ball over. I think we still finished last in the conference in turnover ratio, and that's something that has to be fixed. But toward the end of the year, we became a better second half team. But when I first, after our first year, we were outscored by a gigantic margin in the third and fourth quarters, and we lost games in the second half. The end of the season, the last 4 games, we shut out our opponent in every quarter, every fourth quarter, or every second half from the last 4 games. And now, saying that, we outscored our opponents in the second half. So we got that fixed. That was a major problem for us. So we didn't lose games in the fourth quarter. Even the Alabama State game, we gave up the 1 touchdown, but the fourth quarter was a wash. So we've made drastic improvements in that area, and now we just have to score more points and not turn the ball over as much.
In terms of offense, I know you wanted to establish the running game. What other changes do you want to have for the offense moving forward, just to kind of make you guys kind of making that next step offensively as well?
Well, we've got to have consistency. It's the same old story. It's like singing the same old song every year, but we've got to become more consistent from week to week in what we do. And the college football nowadays has changed, where people like to see points scored and the scoreboard ringing up, but part of that also has to be taking what the defense gives you. And in this conference, the teams that play great defense are teams that they blitz a lot, they use a lot of different athletes in different positions and things like that. So that's just one of the things that we've got to adapt more to the style of play of this conference.
In terms of quarterback play, how did you feel Jordan, just looking at the last couple games Jordan Williams performed in, how did you feel like he did it? I mean, really his first chance to play actual meaningful minutes.
Well, you can't do nothing but compliment him for he started those last 5 games, and he won 3 out of the 5, and he showed a lot of stamina. He showed a lot of heart. He was banged up, beat up, bruised up, and he just kept coming back for more. And one thing about him, he's confident and he believes in himself, which also oozes throughout the team that they believe in him also. So I compliment him in a great way for stepping up in the last few games and making some plays to help us win football games.
Do you think you learned some new things about yourself as a coach in year 2?
No question about it. The most difficult thing I've ever been through as a coach was starting out at this school, on this team, in this program, with the expectations the way they are, 0-7. It's the toughest thing I've ever been through in my life. And I'm the head coach. And I've got to answer the bell every week, regardless of what. I've got to stand up in front of the media. I've got to stand up in front of the fans. I've got to stand up in front of the kids. I got to stand up in front of everyone, regardless of the outcome of the game. Everybody's looking at me as the leader of the program. And to go through that was very trying for myself, very I don't know what do you call it. I don't know if the word is troublesome or hard, tough, but I learned a lot about myself because what you do is you just continue to stand on what you believe, doing things the right way by kids, teaching kids, loving kids when they're up and down. You know they're hurting. You know they practice hard and they want to win. And how do I respond? And then how do I try to get them to respond? And how do I continue to rally the assistant coaches when all hell is breaking loose every which way, and and people don't like you because you're losing football games at Jackson State. But to hold it together and to continue to believe in the kids, and to continue to believe in ourselves, and to come back and to be able to win 3 out of the last 4, which may not mean nothing to anybody, but it means a lot to those kids because they found a way to win. They didn't quit. And they learned a lot about life, that sometimes things are not always going to work out the way you expect them to work out. And even for myself as a winner. But in the end, if you believe in something and if you stick with something and you have the courage to stand up every single day, not wanting to go to the cafeteria because the other students are laughing at you, or not wanting to walk in the plaza because, or ashamed to wear a Jackson State football shirt to the mall, but to continue to work and say I'm a football player at Jackson State and believe in the process, and to finish up with a great victory over your arch rival. Taught me a lot, and taught me a lot about myself, that you know what, just continue to stick with what you believe, stick with the plan that we've set forth, and God will take care of the rest.
During that stretch, who were maybe some of the people you tried to kind of talk to kind of get their advice, kind of pick their brain during that rough stretch?
Well, Coach Mullen is my mentor. He's my person that I look up to in this profession. Who I was under him, and he gave me a great opportunity to work with him. And of course, I called on him, and a good friend of mine, Frank Wilson, the head coach at UT San Antonio, he and I are very, very close friends, and he's having a great year at San Antonio. And I looked at my friends, all my buddies that are head coaches, that are all having success, and I could say, why me? Why am I not having the success that they are? And but sometimes you can't get caught up in those things. You have to continue to work with what we have to work with here, and you have to keep driving the car that you have and believing in the process of what you're doing. So, but those are a few guys. Coach Murphy out at Hines, the winningest coach in the country in JUCO football. I coached with him for 10 years. Great mentor, great friend, great guide, guidance in that area. So there are some people that, yes, I called for their advice and help. But when through it all, I'm really proud of our kids. They never quit. They never gave in. They never threw in the towel. The waves got a little rough at times, but to come away with a victory at the end says a lot about their character and their resolve, and also my assistant coaches that never gave in and never wavered.